fans!
I'm Pat Mayo, and this is your fantasy football news and injury and pickup update for Monday, September 16th, going over the Week 2 injuries, the Week 3 early pickups, and everything else in between. Try to get you out of here as quickly as possible. So sub to Mayo Media Network, smash the like while you're here. I'll have a full recap, team by team, and pickups with Jake Seeley coming out on the Pat Mayo Experience feed a little bit later on Monday afternoon and on the network as well. If you want a cheat sheet of all these injuries and the quick pickups and team notes and running back snap counts, hit the description or just join the Mayo Media newsletter. That cheat sheet is free and is up there right now. If you sub, then you just get it sent straight to your inbox when it gets released. So go do that. Running back injuries heading into week number 3. Joe Mixon left Sunday Night Football. No extent on his injury, but it looks like it might be a high ankle sprain. Cam Akers came into the game to replace him. Well, Mixon came back, and then he had to leave again. Then Akers fumbled near the goal line. Akers was only active and elevated from the practice squad because Dameon Pierce missed the game with a hamstring injury. If Dameon Pierce, and we get that news that he is going to return, he would be the preferred pickup over Cam Akers. If they're both out, then it would be Cam Akers. But I've been down this Cam Akers road before. It's not great. Trust me on that one. Isaiah Pacheco left the Chiefs game with an ankle injury. He was spotted in a walking boot after the game. That rarely means good news. Maybe he'll play next week. Probably unlikely. Conventional thought would be Pacheco out, so Pirine immediately steps in, and then maybe Carson Steele. Although Carson Steele worked a ton, even with Pacheco healthy, of short yardage situations, piling up 7 carries in the game. Well, more than Pirine did anything on the ground. So there's a chance that Carson Steele ends up becoming the lead runner in the Chiefs' backfield, with Pirine relegated to pass catching duty. I don't think that's going to happen. What's probably more likely is you see a 65-35 split with Pirine as the lead. However, all the valuable touches, those goal line touches, are going to go to Carson Steele, which renders both of them kind of inert in a weird way that you're going to have to guess or hope that Pirine scores from distance in this spot. Initially, we thought he'd be one of the better handcuffs. At least what we've seen evidence-wise through 2 weeks, that's probably not going to be the case. It's still Pirine if he's out there that you go pick him up, but it might not be as good as maybe you would have thought going into the week if Pacheco was to miss time. Oh, I have a new Jordan Mason. Nah, it's not going to work out that way. Speaking of Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey's on IR. Continue to fire up some Jordan Mason. He's probably a top 5 running back at the moment. Kenneth Walker missed a week with the oblique injury. He might miss week 3 as well. He missed 2 weeks with this injury a year ago. In November, Zach Charbonnet played the highest percentage of snaps in the backfield of any running back in football on Sunday, so keep playing Zach Charbonnet as long as Kenneth Walker is out. Raheem Mostert missed week number 2. Jeff Wilson left with an oblique injury himself. A-Chain played a ton. If anything was going to happen to A-Chain, obviously you have to go to Jalen Wright if he's still out there on waiver wires for the time being, as long as Mostert and Jeff Wilson remain out. Rachaad White hurt his groin, left the game, then came back, but preemptively, this is not great. It might limit him, or the re-aggravation could occur. Go get Bucky Irving now. If that's going to be the case, this Bucs offense looks good. You're going to want their running back. If White's not there, it's very clear it's going to be Bucky Irving. Tank Bigsby left the Jags game on special teams with a shoulder injury. Dearness Johnson replaced him as ETN's primary backup, but we saw this split last year. It just means more ETN in that backfield of a pretty mediocre-looking offense through 2 weeks. Tajay Spears, this is a big one, left the game with an ankle injury for Les Titans. Just lots of Tony Pollard and more work in the receiving game for him is going to get him a big boost up in the rankings. The rankings will come out in that newsletter as well. They'll get sent right to you. It's completely free. Mayo Media Substack to go join. And I'll have my breakdown on Wednesday afternoons for each of the positional rankings and why guys are rated where they are. Pierre Strong for the Browns, left with a hamstring injury. Wouldn't worry too much about that because Donta Foreman was the one who was running more than Jerome Ford in that game. Lucky Pierre was relegated to third string duty. So you're going to see Foreman, at least in the short term, work a lot in short yardage situations, yet still get his touchdowns vultured by Deshaun Watson. So Ford's probably still the guy, although Foreman's going to make Ford's value a little bit lesser going forward. For pickups in week number 3 at running back, Bucky Irving would be my number 1 right now, and that's with Rachaad White still being healthy, just to see where he's going to be and how he can elevate himself in that circumstance. After that, it would be Pirine, but again, you have to worry about Carson Steele. Dameon Pierce over Cam Akers. Again, you got to see if Dameon Pierce is going to be healthy, and we might not know that. I would take the flyer on Dameon Pierce, and maybe you get a week out of him as your starter. Then it'd be Braylon Allen, objectively just a good pickup in the Jets backfield. If anything happened to Breece Hall, he would be amazing. And it looks right now with his involvement in the passing game that he might be a low-end flex in a deeper league if you really need him. Travis Homer in the Bears backfield. Eventually someone's going to take DeAndre Swift's job because he's been terrible, but I don't know if you want to start any of the Bears at this point. And then Jalen Wright, again, if Mostert continues to be out, if Wilson continues to be out, he'll run as the number 2 in the Dolphins offense. Wide receiver injuries, here's where it gets fun. A.J. Brown is not playing on Monday Night Football. I'd rather play Darnell Mooney over Josh Dotson, who would probably be stepping in for A.J. Brown. I think that Mooney's better, and Dotson has shown nothing in an Eagles uniform to date. It's more of an up for Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley than it is for Dotson. He'll run some extra routes. We'll see if he ends up doing anything. We'll check back to see if Brown ends up playing in week 3 with a hamstring. Probably not, would be my guess. Justin Jefferson left the game with a quad injury. He says he's okay, and I am inclined to believe him. Jordan Addison in that same game did not play. Jalen Nailor took over for Brandon Powell in the majority of the 2 wide receiver sets. Nailor is the pickup for the Vikings. Cooper Kupp left the game. Again, like Isaiah Pacheco, spotted in a walking boot after the game. That's bad news. So here's what we got going on in the Rams wide receiving core. It's Tutu Atwell, Demarcus Robinson, and Tyler Johnson. I like Demarcus Robinson over the other 2, although Tutu Atwell was splitting with Tyler Johnson. He only ran 10 routes but saw 4 targets. Matt Stafford does like him, and he's a big play, deep play player. The weird thing is Jordan Whittington played in the spot of Cooper Kupp for all of his snaps in the second half. So he might actually be the guy that you'd want to target if Puka and Kupp are, Puka's going to miss at least 4 weeks. Kupp could be following him 2 to 6 weeks at this point, based on what we've seen so far. No finalization on what the injury is and how long he's going to be out, but it doesn't look good by any circumstance. So Whittington might end up being the pickup after Demarcus Robinson if you're trying to mine some value from the Rams. And it looks like they can be scored on, so they might have to pass a ton in that spot. Amon-Ra St. Brown left the game with a knee injury. He came back, then he left, then he jogged off the field. Doesn't look great. We'll get more information on it. Maybe he doesn't miss any time and it's fine. Although Tim Patrick was elevated from the practice squad and ran the 3rd most routes of any Lions receiver. It would be Tim Patrick who I would target in that spot instead of Khalif Raymond to play opposite of Jameson Williams. We know Tim Patrick's good. He's just been in a string of bad injuries. I don't know why Denver cut him, but there's a nice landing spot for him in Detroit. If he gets some extra run, I would pick him up. And, he's not a must play, but he'd probably be like a fringe top 50 receiver for the week. T. Higgins missed the week again. Keenan Allen missed the week. Josh Downs missed the week, but he'll probably be back next week, which means A.D. Mitchell probably gets out of the starting lineup. Josh Downs takes his spot, and Alec Pierce still remains a guy running a ton of routes and productive routes for the Indianapolis Colts when they decide to throw the ball. Devon Vale didn't play. Hollywood Brown is now month to month. He's going to just drop Hollywood Brown. You don't need him anymore, and that's what we're doing. Big names at wide receiver right now on the IR or potentially not playing. Overall, in terms of pickups, Quentin Johnson is running the most routes the 2nd week in a row for the Los Angeles Chargers. This week he caught 2 touchdowns. He learned how to catch. He's the number 1 pickup if he's available in your league. Jalen Nailor would be after that, presuming Jefferson or Addison end up missing time. If you think that they're both going to be back, Alec Pierce, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick. Jalen Tolbert ran the most routes of any Dallas Cowboys receiver. He was on the field with Cooks and with CeeDee Lamb the majority of the time. Now, that's probably because Jake Ferguson didn't play and you had Luke Schoonmaker splitting time, and he only ran like 20-something routes played 20-something snaps. So no tight end played more than half the snaps for the Cowboys, hence more Jalen Tolbert. If he ends up missing more time, Jake Ferguson that is, then Tolbert will at least be an attractive volume play in deeper leagues at the moment. Noah Brown finally got on the field for the Washington Commanders. He didn't play very many routes at all. He was splitting with like Zacchaeus and Denami Brown, but he was very productive when he's on the field. I think that he is their best receiver after Terry McLaurin. Once he gets more acclimated, I think the job is going to be his. He already has a rapport with Jaden Daniels, which we saw this weekend. As a speculative pickup, I like Noah Brown a lot, and he can do a ton after the catch, which is going to be very helpful in this Commanders offense. At tight end, Evan Ingram was a late scratch in warmups, did not play with a hamstring injury. Hamstrings are like 2 to 3 weeks. He's probably not going to play in week number 3. Taysom Hill had to leave the game with a chest injury. He had to go to the hospital after the game. Probably not going to play in week 3 at this point, although he's like super recovery guy. Maybe he does end up going. Davis Allen missed week 2 for the Rams, which led to more Parkinson. He had to block a little bit more than expected, which he is not good at. And as you saw by the amount of penetration that the Cardinals defensive line was able to get on Matt Stafford, and yeah, see why that's the case. Tommy Tremble missed for the Carolina. You don't want to play anyone in Carolina. David Njoku is still out with his high ankle sprain. We did see Jordan Akins do a little bit, but not too much. Probably not a priority play whatsoever. The number one pickup is Hunter Henry. That's not even close. Go pick up Hunter Henry if he is available in your leagues right now. Streaming defenses for the week. These are all less than 50%. I'll have the full rankings out on Wednesday, but here's the prelim of what you're looking at right now. I like the Patriots on Thursday night at the Jets. That just feels like a low-scoring banger game. If it's not them, then it's Las Vegas at home against Carolina in a great spot. How many times are you going to get to stream the Raiders defense? Well, this is the week to do it. Tennessee at home against Green Bay and presumably Malik Willis again. Indianapolis at home against Chicago. I mean, Caleb Williams just targeting guys on the other team at this point, so you might as well play the defense that's going up against them. Cincinnati at home against Washington. Jaden Daniels. Tampa Bay at home against Denver. You'd think that Denver would be a better streaming matchup, but they just don't throw many passes that are going to be intercepted or tipped. They take a few sacks, they throw the ball away, they run routes that are like 2 yards down the field. It doesn't allow for a ton of fantasy points to be scored on the other side, but the Bucs are a decent D if you want to go pick them up. Seattle against probably Skylar Thompson in this spot, and then the Giants at home against Cleveland if you are in absolute dire straits. There is a possibility that the Bears are available because some people drop them against Houston. They would become the number one pickup because they're a legitimately good defense and a good fantasy defense. They would be a priority pickup if they were available in your league, but they're around 65% owned, so they did not make the streaming list. Quarterback injuries. Tua's probably not going to play in week 3. We're going to see more Justin Fields instead of Russell Wilson and Jordan Love. They're saying week 5 right now, but they're going to pretend like he's going to play in week 3. He's not going to play in week 3. It's going to be Malik Willis again, especially after the Packers' victory. It does buy them a little bit of time. If you're looking for pickups at quarterback to stream this week, Darnold versus Houston at home. Minnesota continues to roll. If Jefferson doesn't play, I would knock him down, but I'm expecting Jefferson to play at this point. Geno at home against Miami. Gardner Minshew at home against Carolina. Fields at home against the Chargers. Derek Carr at home against Philadelphia. I mean, Derek Carr might be the best fantasy player right now in general. So you probably should pick him up and play him, but he's going to come crashing back to earth at some point, maybe against Philadelphia. We'll see how their defense looks on Monday evening. And then Deshaun Watson against the Giants. He's running in touchdowns. You don't need to be good in real life in order to be a good fantasy player. Just ask Daniel Jones. Okay? Smash the like while you're here. Sub to Mayo Media Network. And for a full-length breakdown, you'll get that later on Monday with Jake Seeley on the Pat Mayo Experience video and audio feed. And if you just want the cheat sheet of all these pickups, injuries in real time, and the game notes, hit the description. The link to the Mayo Media newsletter is down there right now. Okay? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!